Property prices have been brutal in Australia for years, but just when we thought the market was cooling down, a change in policy in New Zealand is about to trigger another foreign buying spree.
It's good enough for the Sultan of Brunei, it's good enough for an Aussie, I reckon.
Will you buy the house?
About how much?
700 will buy it.
New Zealand is not for sale.
Really, it's racist.
I didn't know that racism had a financial twist to it.
Never before has a change of government here in little old New Zealand been so divisive so early on. So, what's caused all this drama? Well, unsurprisingly, it's Australia at the forefront of this controversy.
Our legislation treats foreign buyers the same no matter where they come from, except for Australians.
Why have you made the move in terms of the recent announcement regarding foreign buyers?
Same reason Australia has.
When it comes to foreigners buying up real estate, Auckland's price rise dramas are on a par with Sydney's and Melbourne's.
It's 20 million, about 18 Oz. Do you want to come and have a look?
Sure do, wouldn't mind. Graham Wall is New Zealand's top real estate agent. At the moment, he's trying to flog this spectacular $18 million mansion previously owned by the Sultan of Brunei.
12 houses and a bunch of Benzes and came to town in a bit of a flurry.
But while we were filming, Graham learnt a big number of his potential buyers had been locked out by the new Kiwi Prime Minister.
In this world that's meant to be open, we're closing, we're going Fortress New Zealand.
Now, all foreign buyers except Australians are no longer allowed to buy existing real estate in New Zealand, which means two things for us back here. Firstly, Aussies are no longer competing with deep pockets around the world for a slice of Kiwi heaven.
Childish, racist compromise, really.
However, it also means foreign investors are now likely to focus even more on Australian real estate, driving our prices up even further.
Australia, of course, is the #1 place.
What were we ever doing when we sold our own houses to people who live in China?
Anne Gibson is the property editor of the New Zealand Herald. She won an award last year for an investigation into cashed-up Chinese speculators swamping the Kiwi housing market.
What were we thinking?
Her research exposed a whopping 30% of Auckland houses were sold to mainland Chinese investors.
We don't necessarily want people who live in other countries to become our landlords. What are we then, tenants in our own country?
They say Australia is excluded because of our special relationship. They really mean you're excluded because you've got round eyes.
Well, I know that some people in Australia are not round-eyed. In fact, they've been there for 50,000 years.
New Zealand Foreign Minister and Deputy PM Sir Winston Peters has long campaigned to make Kiwi real estate affordable for Kiwis.
We couldn't even build the houses for the people who are getting off at the airport every year. Got a bit of a problem there, haven't you? This is Channel 9 out of Australia.
If it wasn't for this queen maker, Jacinda Ardern wouldn't be the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Have you put New Zealand property on a platter for Australian buyers?
No, I wouldn't think so. In fact, I think what we've done there is just made sure that we had a reciprocal arrangement. New Zealanders can purchase in Australia. It was only fair that we allow Australians to continue to purchase here, not least because of the agreements that bind us to that arrangement as well.
Could be an international buyer.
Stuart, ring me back later on. 2 hours' time. Thank you.
Oh, that's a bit abrupt there, Gordon. Veteran real estate agent Gordon Wu has ties to the local and international Chinese community. He's seeing red about the government locking his flesh and blood out of the New Zealand real estate market.
There are overtones.
What sort of overtones?
I would like to comment on TV.
But while Australians now have a free run at the Kiwi market, on the flip side, foreign buyers locked out of New Zealand are starting to eye off our backyard even more.
We are just working on Australian data.
Sam Yin runs HoGarden, New Zealand's version of Domain for Chinese-speaking buyers. Now he's opening up a portal into Australia for his thousands of investors.
That's big market in Australia. New Zealand has about maybe 150,000 or to 200,000 Chinese people living here, but Australia there's about 800,000 Chinese people living in Australia.
It's not just foreign investors flocking to Australia and driving up our real estate prices. Foreign students are set to follow.
Try and find employer and employee.
New Zealand plans to slash the number of overseas pupils studying there. The move will drive them Australia's way, according to Auckland education consultant Paul Chalmers.
I think there are high numbers of unreasonable rejections of students, and those students are being encouraged to go to Australia and Canada by our agents. So it'll be a benefit to Australia.
It's a major headache for Aussie families who are competing week in, week out for real estate against cashed-up students bankrolled by their mainland Chinese parents.
And this is a loophole that definitely needs to be closed quick smart.
Chief Economist of Industry Super Australia, Stephen Anthony, has uncovered some startling data. Australia issued 343,000 visas to foreign students in the past year alone. That's up from 293,000 almost a decade ago. Now, over roughly the same period, Chinese real estate investment in Australia rose from about $1 billion to $32 billion. Now, the respected economic heavy hitter is leading calls for the Australian government to ban foreign students from buying local properties.
If they're bringing in resources from their parents, for example, what they're doing is contributing to the demand for existing property, driving up prices. What they're not doing is building new capacity, which drives prices down.
While 18 million might be out of reach for families on both sides of the pond,
You lucky Aussies, the Asians have just been shut out, so the competition's gone away, it's all yours.
at least in the New Zealand capital of Wellington, you can still pick up a moderately priced home.
The old policy was better. Freedom for everybody. We are a democratic society.
New Zealand's ban on foreign buyers will come into effect early next year.